Hello.
Sure.
Sir.
Hello.
Shalom, as you say.
Should I change my thing to say Jacob and Trey as opposed to just Jacob? Do you?
Sure. Um, Speaking of do you know if the is it Herodias's daughter is named like Salome? Is that related?
Salome? I think that's
Well,
what.
is that related to Shalom, or would that be? Wait, that would be like more of a Greek name, though, right?
Oh, I have no clue. Like, this is a New Testament thing.
Yeah, we don't want to do that again. We gotta keep it in the Hebrew this week, right?
We're going to talk about human sexuality.
All right.
3 unmarried men talking about human sexuality.
Yeah, it's always great, right?
3
We can do that.
unmarried men getting fatter as we speak by eating
bulking. Okay,
bulking.
we're gonna use that.
Bulking.
Yeah.
Do you guys watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yep.
What?
That show is amazing. Fat Mac, he's
Back Mac.
accumulating mass.
Accumulating mass.
Always stop accumulating, start harvesting. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's a great TV show. It's probably one of the best TV shows out there. Do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld, by the way? Because I've heard those are very Jewish comedies.
I was never a huge fan of Seinfeld. I've only watched a little bit of Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's funny, but it's like it wasn't anything that I was really hugely into.
I see. All right. So, do we want to pray first, I guess?
We should pray.
All right. You want me to do it, or do one of you guys want to do it?
You do it.
All right. Father, we come before you right now. We just thank you for this time that we get to spend in fellowship with one another and in fellowship with you. Father, we ask that you just pour out wisdom upon us and give us humility and direct our speech, direct this conversation. And please cause us to see new things, to hear new things, and to give honor and glory to you and into your name. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Did you ever watch the Goldbergs? I have not seen the Goldbergs.
No,
I have no idea what the Goldbergs is.
I feel like I've maybe seen a picture of it, but I've never watched it. All right, so we could talk about human sexuality, but I did want to ask about, do you know anything about pomegranates? Can we kind of spin off from there and then talk about human sexuality, or no? Or should I save those questions for later?
No, that's good, actually.
Is pomegranate's a Greek thing?
No.
Yeah.
The Bible talks about pomegranates.
Right, but pomegranates are attached to sexuality in the Greek myths.
They may be, but
anyways, that's that.
Okay. Sorry, but there's somebody who's lurking who I needed to respond to. Jacob's Persian. He is a pomegranate. Ha ha.
What does that mean?
Actually, pomegranate walnut stew is one of my favorite Persian foods.
That sounds good.
It is very good. And my most controversial food opinion is that fesenjan, which is pomegranate walnut stew, should be served on sabzi polo, which is herbed rice. And I am sticking by that opinion no matter what anyone says.
I'm okay with that. I like
Both
rice.
had neither herbed rice nor fesenjan, but it's...
What is herbed rice? Just rice with herbs on it?
Yeah, basically.
What kind of herbs?
So I personally really like pulabagali, which is herbed rice. Generally, Persian herbed rice will have dill on it, but I also really like lima beans. So dill and lima beans is what I.
The lima beans doesn't count as an herb, though. It would
No,
be the dill,
but,
right?
Okay, you know what? Go look up a recipe for Persian
right.
bagali and fesenjan, and go ahead and eat them together, and you will see that they are in fact better than they are by themselves, even though many Persians I tell this to are very dubious until they try it.
It sounds good to me. I would try it. I like rice. Rice is delicious.
Persians eat mountains of rice.
Yeah. Same as Filipino.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Pomegranate.
pomegranates. Well, let's start with actually my favorite thing to talk about with pomegranates is there is a Jewish tradition that every pomegranate has 613 seeds.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it's just a tradition, right? It's actually like the most I've been able to translate it. I've been able to trace it back is like 500 years, but because there are 613 commandments in the Torah, traditionally that's what we say that the number is. There's an idea that because I actually think the Talmud says like it's a good thing to be filled with. Oh, we should put a StreamYard link. Andrew, if you live in Los Angeles, you have to actually physically show up to the Bible study.
I forget he doesn't have a car.
Oh right, sucks to be you.
You could take a bus.
He actually could take a bird here.
Yeah.
But then his parents would know he left campus.
Man, that's really tough. Like, you live at college and you're still controlled by your parents. That's like,
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, man.
Jacob, it's finals week.
Oh. Then what are you doing?
on their street.
Yep. Great question. So I'll ask my 2 Bible study questions, and then you guys can kick me off as you want.
Okay.
So first one is the pillar of salt, Jacob. What's up with that?
I haven't
That's a good one.
like what? You've asked this question several times. I don't even know what the question is.
Well, I don't know, man. It's like why? Why does she get turned into a pillar of salt, and why a pillar of salt? You know, like why not a pillar of stone or something? Nah.
Okay. So where exactly this is Genesis 17? Where is this in Genesis?
I don't know. I'll look. I think you're probably right. 17, maybe 19. 19. 20,
Yeah.
Verse 26.
Verse 26. Is this showing? It is not showing.
I don't
Now
really,
it's
I mean, I thought everybody knew why she turned into salt. Not salt specifically, but
showing. Well, that's what he's asking. He's asking why salt.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
always been curious about salt too.
So, let's see. Al-Shif. That's really wrong. Long, sorry. Before shore. You know who's probably has a really interesting thing would be the Orach Chaim. Let me see if there's an Orach Chaim. Chizkuni.
what's LP?
So Rashi apparently says, let's see what Rashi says. By salt had she sinned, and by salt was she punished. He, Lot, said to her once, "Give a little salt to these strangers," and she answered him, "Do you mean to introduce this bad custom also into our city?" So apparently, the Midrash Rabbah Genesis Rabbah says that she it's because that happened.
Wait, what?
Is this like extra lore?
Yeah, there.
Mhm.
So there is a midrash which says so the reason why Sodom and Gomorrah, Sodom and Amorah were destroyed is because they were opposed to. They were opposed to. My brain will work. Hospitality.
Oh, good.
And so the Midrash says that Lot was trying to be hospitable, and he apparently told his wife, at least offer them some salt, and she wasn't even willing to do that. And therefore, there's a Nechama Leibowitz thing on it. She did. Apparently, she actually did two. Let's see what she has to say.
She,
Yes, Nechama Leibowitz is one of the great female teachers of Torah of my lifetime.
and she's Orthodox.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly. So, Ralbag al HaTorah. V'hinei kasher zarchav she'aresh ba'alot. You know what? Doing a she's gonna be. This is gonna be difficult. Abarbanel, v'li nira al derech hapshat shahamalachim hizhiru lolot lefi shaya lo tzon v'karki derech hasharam v'hodia shelo yimalet mikol asher lo daber lachen amru lo v'derech etza v'nechama himlat al nafshecha ki hi tiyeh nevad v'al ta'amod v'choshvecha ki שלא יחוש לבנותיו לצונו אשר נכסיו אשר נשאר שם לא שיאסר עליו הבטה בעיניו כי למה יאסר לו זה יותר טוב היה אשר עיניו יביט הכרת רשעים יראה אשתו של לוט הביטה מאחורי לוט בעלה כי אחרי שהוא יצא מסדום וציווה לו המלאך So the Abravanel says that the angel tells Lot not to look back because he should not care about all of his physical wealth that he was leaving behind. He lo astachen, aval habita ma'acharav. She didn't do that, and she looked behind him. Klomar, that is to say, hit askad la'atzil hatzon va'bakar v'shar nechasim. So she wanted to bring the animals and other wealth. Hefach ma shetziva lot. The opposite of that which Lot said. ולכן בהיותו משתדל על זה לא הלכה עם בעלה והדביקה אותה הרעה ותהי נציב מלח כשאר העיר. And she turned into a pillar of salt like the rest of the city.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. The rest of the city. Is it because they were gathered in like the Dead Sea area or something?
Right. So if you've ever been to Sodom, which I have, it's that entire area is filled with salt stone.
They find
Salt
it.
stone.
I have seen the supposed pillar of salt that she turned into. Yes.
Ooh.
I did not lick it anyway. It's
I would do it.
You would.
I was like,
But
I don't know. I'm kind of curious too because I feel like some of this is lost on me. Like even the symbolism of salt. Like, why exactly
I mean, obviously, Nechama Leibowitz agrees with you. She thinks it's important, and she was very, very good at making a sheet filled with interesting things to Chazi's here.
Ezzy.
As
So
Yeah,
Chazi, you can
Yeah, he's
like that Nechama Leibowitz sheet for them, and then they'll actually know. There you go. Nechama Leibowitz has, in fact, answered your question about salt. Good enough for you to go back to your fine.
well, I've got one more.
What's your second question?
Matthew 11, I think.
That's not in the Hebrew Bible.
What? Nah, you people, I tell you.
what is it? What is it?
Oh,
Give it to me.
uh,
We'll take it.
We talk to people, Andrew.
Yeah,
Matthew
it
11.
says
Wait,
like,
is it John the Baptist?
yeah,
Let me guess. What did you go out to see? Is it that whole part?
what'd you say? No. It's
Is that the part where Jesus calls Herod a homosexual?
I heard
slut?
you.
yeah,
I heard you say that.
that's in there.
Us.
I wanted to know, like, Christ says he's like the least of the kingdom in heaven, whatever, right? Kingdom of heaven, and
Which
yeah, I don't know. I kind of doubt that. I think he's kind of up there, you know.
Who's the
So
least?
there is.
Matthew 11.
I think that's the one where it says someone who sins and causes others to sin, right?
Let me pull it up.
Let's see.
I was sending a message.
He shall be least in the kingdom. Where is that?
Oh yeah. I tell you the truth, among those born of woman there has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like one of those later insertions by the anti-John people.
Anti-John people. There's anti-John people.
Yeah, of course.
What? I've
So-
never heard of these people. Why is that?
Jacob, I don't believe you.
They're almost as bad as the anti-James people.
I'm gonna look up Jacob.
Oh, so why are there anti-James people?
Because they wanted to aggrandize Jesus. So the two people who were actually of basically equal stature to Jesus in the early Jewish community, Jewish Christian community, were John and James. And both of them were progressively written out of the Christian Bible.
That's weird.
No, it makes like no. Because
That's what the academics believe.
Okay, well no, I'm just saying that it makes
And we all know that academics are absolutely right about everything they say about the Bible.
but how old is yours? Anyways, so my commentary is just saying that it's because John was part of the old covenant technically, because he didn't live after Jesus was resurrected. And it basically says,
What commentary is this?
the NIV.
What verse are we looking at anyway? Oh wait, from
Matthew
the
11.
okay. He was least in the kingdom of heaven, but you just, I mean, this seems like a little bit of a stretch that I'm
Right.
doing this, but you could say, you know, the last are first and the first are last thing. So
Well-
he who's least is actually the greatest, you know.
Yeah.
But that feels like I'm just kind of twisting it.
Well, the verse before it does talk about John being a messenger, symbolizing the idea of the old covenant. So that would be my. I'm not saying it makes perfect sense, but
The NIV Study Bible by Zondervan Bible Publishers.
So how would you interpret this through Judaism? If you're coming from the Old Testament, looking forward, and you had like that passage that is quoted before, "Behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you," which I think is from Malachi, right? And so then, if you're thinking of the Messiah coming, and that stuff prophesied or spoken of in Malachi, what would you think Jesus is trying to say here?
See, I don't think Jesus really said any of this
Yeah,
stuff.
of course. Yeah, that's not
Like-
surprising.
It I mean,
Should we look at the Red Letter Bible and see if they say it? What's it called? The Bible by committee?
oh,
The Jesus.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Jesus
let's-
Seminar Bible.
Yeah, let's see if they highlight that.
We could do that.
Yeah, like, that actually
where-
be fun.
There was a website I used to look up the Jesus Seminar stuff on it.
Those people are goofy.
They're not goofy. I think they make a lot of sense. Here, where can you look up the Red Letter Bible? I mean the Jesus Seminar ratings.
Jesus Seminar.
Verse.
If we were to entertain the idea that Jesus actually did say this, and you were being charitable and like trying to understand it, like I'm just wondering what the best way of looking at this is, because even the verse after it like still gets me, and I don't know how to understand that either. The heaven suffering violence, and the violent take it by force.
Okay, where is
that-
this Matthew? What?
It's still Matthew 11. It's
Matthew?
we're looking at Matthew 11. I mean, basically 11 through 15, because he ends it. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Like he's almost speaking some mystery, and I don't know how to interpret that stuff, or how I should even view it. If I'm actually gonna,
Well, I mean,
say that he did speak these words.
there is this concept of olam hafuch ra'iti, which is that the world to come will be upside down, and those who are greatest will be the least, and those who are the least will be greatest. And so there's this concept of where repentant sinners stand. Even the greatest completely righteous people cannot stand. So you could say, in a sense, people who are repentant are in reality even greater than those who have never sinned.
That's interesting, but I think he's
Okay.
talking about the children. And from this, okay, I'll explain why it makes sense as an old covenant view. Is because
Do it. Let's hear it. I'm interested. You have my attention.
I'm not a Jehovah's Witness anymore, but in Jehovah's Witness theology,
Gingers don't have a soul.
the idea of the new covenant meant that you could go to heaven. But in the old covenant, you couldn't go to heaven. Now, I know this doesn't apply. I know this is bad theology, but it always made sense to me reading it with these eyes, at least that there was an idea that there are people who are after Christ's resurrection and there are people before it. And the people before it don't count as being part of the bridegroom, only the people after Christ's resurrection. Because people have to get baptized twice. One by John, and then after Jesus dies and resurrected, they get baptized again. So I feel like that's an emphasis on the idea that there's the old covenant and then there's the new covenant.
So this is all weird JW.
No. No. But it is true that people who were baptized by John had to get baptized again.
That is true, yes.
Right? So there was the idea that John's baptisms didn't count in his covenant, but in Jesus' covenant, it's more important.
I still have no idea why Christians only do immersion once.
We do it twice.
On a basis. What?
Twice.
No. As in a one-time thing in your life.
Well,
You mean? I don't know. I do it all the time, but whatever.
You're a Baptist.
There's a river I live nearby. It's pretty good for that sort of thing.
No wonder you're so whatchamacallit. No wonder you're so holy and not tainted by the Trinity.
Because I go wash in a fish river.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, there is the quote, like where he says, John indeed baptized. What do they say? Like he baptized with water, but there's one coming after me who will baptize with the Holy Spirit and fire, or something like that.
Mhm.
That's what I'm
It-
talking
there's that whole, which maybe I wonder if that does that tie into the whole. There's a weird verse in Mark as well that mentions something about being seasoned with fire and seasoned with salt. I didn't know what that was about either. I have no idea.
And we go back to
That's-
Sodom.
What does
Fire-
that mean?
Yeah, that
Is
was kind of seasoned.
So what is that? Is there a connection with fire and salt and that sort of thing? I guess.
Oh, and Sodom,
They
yeah.
cooked-
Sodom and
they
Gomorrah.
cooked.
They are they are judged with fire and salt.
With fire and salt from heaven. But why is that a thing though? That's what I mean. Like, why is that some weird? Would you just pick up on that from cooking meals and you'd be like, this is the symbolism? Like, I don't understand why God would choose
Oh,
those
that's
things.
a
Really,
thing. Honestly, I don't know. Rabbi Mullet is here. He knows everything. Rabbi, what's the symbolism of fire and salt? Or Chezi, what's the symbolism of fire and salt? You guys
Yeah,
are
hop
asking
in
me.
here.
I always used to not pay too much attention to, which was like the really symbolic stuff.
Well, it's just always kind of been a little bit of curiosity to me too, because there's some verses, and there's not a lot of them, where it talks about the salt of the covenant, and so I'm like, or he said, I think there's one mention where he's talking to King David, and he says, "I will make with you a covenant of salt," and I'm just like, I don't know what that means, and that's what I mean. I'm like, did these people back then understand salt differently than I do? So it's like,
Salt was in fact used in covenants back then. I know that. So like people are constantly asking about. Well, most of it is about Christian stuff, but so the initial question was why Davka was Lot's wife turned into salt. Why Davka salt? Why not something else? Davka is Hebrew for specifically.
yeah, or just burn her up, something. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Why
That's
turn?
why.
Why specifically salt?
That's why I wonder if there's just if it was something with the way they cooked food, the way salt was more immediate to like preserving things, but then also like you said, the Salt Sea. I've never been there, but I can imagine just going there and visiting has an impact on how to understand.
And if it helps
Oh.
at all, Rabbi Mullet, I linked a Nechama Leibowitz sheet, which apparently is yes, Rashi. We discussed that Rashi. Yes, that she wouldn't even give salt to her neighbors.
What a weirdo.
Hospitality is a big mitzvah.
Yep. Is there something going on with? Sorry, this will take it somewhere else now. I'm just every time we talk about that story, I always think of the story with Benjamin as well.
What story?
In the book of Judges, how it's very similar to the
that woman who
Sodom and
gets
Gomorrah.
ripped to little pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Is that when they chop up the prostitute?
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually, I was literally going to ask about that. Because before that, I never understood. Like, my pastor basically asked why they didn't allow God's people to win, and I was so confused about that. Anyways, I vote for the prostitute chopping up.
That she informed the city that Lot had invited guests by going around.
No, Rashi. Okay.
Um,
When we were looking at it, Rashi said that she was punished because the Midrash Rabbah says that Lot told her to give salt, but she wouldn't. If this is true, it is hospitality. Why do Christians get so angry and say they were destroyed for their sexuality?
Ooh, perfect. We're back on sexuality now. Look, she tied that around.
all coming together.
Man, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes reading Bible with different eyes.
Don't know why
Um,
Christians reject hospitality as a reason.
Well, it's because
They-
the angel, right?
They
Wedding
tried to rape. They tried to rape the angels or something.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
I
So I
mean-
think that's why.
people is pretty bad. Is the opposite of hospitality.
And then Lot tries to give
Like-
them the daughters, and they refuse. They're like, we want the angel boy.
Yeah, I mean
But-
that's definitely not very hospitable to like to rape people, but
Yeah, it's not on the list. It's like there's like the 5
No.
rules of hospitality. And
one of them's don't rape
rape
people.
people, yeah.
Don't rape people. Don't steal from people.
Too
Um,
many.
it
There's
says-
too many rules.
so-
Yeah.
To Sandy's thing really quick too though, Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49. It says this is the son of Sodom, so that's why it's hospitality. That's where it basically says that. Not in those exact words, but anyway. So what did Hezi say?
Chezi says
Oh.
salt is a combo, water and fire, a correction of the splitting of the waters on the second day of creation. It represents the ability to redeem oneself. Also
can you say-
relates to the sacrifice services. So the sacrifices were given with salt, with salt. Were brought with
Okay. Oh, that's true. Yeah. It was always a given result. So that makes more sense, and even relates to the baptism thing, because John wouldn't be. His was just water, and whereas Christ is supposed to be something more like you're going to be. Well, he was sacrificed, but then you're also supposed to lay down your own life and follow him. And so I guess maybe that's kind of tying that in there. So can you say more about like the
Sandy's
water
a
and fire?
theologian, and she says it's hospitality, so that's it.
A correction of splitting the waters on the second day. With David, it represents the start
Second day of
I mean,
creation.
what context? Why are these things so? Like why is it a sturdy covenant? I don't understand.
I don't either.
Symbolic.
With David, it represents a sturdy covenant, not cabinet. Salt lasts for a long time. Actually, salt is used
Ah,
to preserve things, right?
Yeah.
So salt used to be used in order to preserve things, and I think my kitty is tired of the Bible study.
who is? Shadow? Or Happy?
This is Shadow. Yes, he's sleeping right there.
But why is it okay? So why is it a correction of the splitting of waters on the second day of creation? The ability to redeem oneself. I'd like to hear more about that. Hezi, hop on here. Explain this.
Yeah, Hezi, come.
And
come.
explain the chopping off the legs or whatever you're talking about, Sodom. What was this? They tied people down
Yeah.
and cut their legs?
I'm kind of glad I beat Hezi with the driving in your car game. Now I'm known for it instead of him. Proud of myself.
Hezi does in fact drive a lot.
Yeah, but I beat him.
You did. You drive more than Hezi does.
Yeah.
I don't think. What time is it in Israel right now?
I need
I
to
don't know.
love.
Maybe go
It's
What
8 a.m. He hasn't made it to work yet.
He goes to work? I thought he worked for himself.
He not only works for himself, he has employees.
Oh, that's nice.
Whoa.
Oh. That's pretty nice. I guess, or stressful. Sounds like it could be stressful. There's a silverfish here. Oh my gosh. Perfectly designed to be unpleasant to find.
Andrew, finals.
Yeah, one more question. If Hezi's not popping on. What's this whole Rock of Miriam business?
Um,
No, about the rock.
so the rock that gave water during the 40 years in the desert is called the Rock of Miriam.
Oh, really?
Why?
Okay.
Why is that? Because it's bitter? Is there a connection with bitterness in Miriam or no? Am I making that up?
Miriam means bitter waters.
Bitter waters? Like Ma, Miriam. Okay.
Mariam, yeah, bitter sea, yeah.
And so that's when the bitter waters become sweet and they can drink them and then right. Is that the same spot? No, that's not the same part, is it? I don't know
I
if
don't
it
think
is.
it's the same spot, but Rock of Miriam. Miriam's well, unraveling the mystery from
Ooh,
Ah.
nice.
In Islam, they call it wawa. They call
what?
I like mysteries.
where we're talking about where Moses hit the rock and then it came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they call it
This is
wawa. Yeah,
this is the one.
Look up.
I believe you.
Why
Why is
can
it
turn to salt?
Only
called?
Muslims are.
If you say so. Why is the well called by Miriam's name, and what happened to Miriam's well after the Jews entered the land of Israel? Miriam's merit. Toward the end of the Israelites' sojourn in the desert, the verse tells us the entire congregation of Israel arrived at the desert of Zin in the first month, and the people settled in Kadesh. Miriam died there and was buried there. The congregation had no water, so they assembled against Moses and Aaron. From the juxtaposition of Miriam's death and the water shortage, the sages of Talmud understand that for all the previous 40 years, they did have a ready water source, and that it was in Miriam's merit. In fact, the Talmud explains that the three gifts the Jews had in the desert, the well of water, the pillar of clouds, and the manna, were in the merit of Miriam, Aaron, and Moses, respectively. What is the connection between Miriam and the water? The Zohar explains that Miriam stood by the waters of the Nile River and watched over her baby brother Moses to ensure he would be safe. The Midrash connects the well to Miriam's exuberant praise after the splitting of the sea. Since she was so grateful for a miracle that occurred through water, God rewarded her with water, for which the Jewish people sang even more praise. Although the well produced the water in Miriam's merit, the Mishnah lists it among the 10 unique things created at twilight on the eve of the first Shabbat after creation. So Chezi and Thing are going to have to talk about that when they get there on the boat and Ben. According to the Midrash, the well was actually a rock shaped like a sieve. It would roll with them through their travels, and when they stopped, the rock would dig deep into the sand. The leaders of the tribes would come and stand by it, saying, "Rise up to the well," and it would rise. Some commentators explain that the rock itself didn't actually roll with them. Rather, the stream of water that originated from the rock would spring up in their new location. It was from this rock that Moses first brought forth water when the Jewish people complained about their lack of water in Exodus. And it is the same rock that after Miriam died, Moses hit in order to draw forth water once again in Numbers. In the verses recounting the travels of the Jewish people, we find a rather cryptic incident. And the spilling of the streams that turned to settle at Ar and leaned toward the border of Moab, from there to the well, that is the well of which the Lord said to Moses, "Gather the people and I will give them water." Then Israel sang the song, "Ascend, O well, sing to it, a well dug by princes, carved out by nobles of the people. Through the lawgiver with their staffs, and from the desert a gift. From the gift to the streams, and from the streams to the heights, from the heights of the valley in the field of Moab, at the top of the peak that overlooks the wasteland." Numbers 21:15 through 20. The sages explain that the well in this song is Miriam's well, And the song was sung on account of the miracle that happened with the well. The Amorites, knowing the Jewish people would have to pass through the valley, assembled a great army. Some of them hid in the many caves on the slopes of the mountain, while another group awaited the Jewish people in the valley below, hoping to ambush them unexpectedly from above and from below when they passed through the valley. God, however, arranged that the people did not go down into the valley at all, but stayed above. He then commanded the mountains on both sides of the valley to come together, and the protrusion of one mountain pressed into the caves of the other, crushing all the Amorites hidden inside. Then the well water flowed down through the valley, and becoming stronger in force, destroyed all the people that were there, like the Egyptians who were destroyed by the sea. In fact, the Torah compares these two events when recounting God's mighty deeds on behalf of the Jewish people. Since the Jewish people had passed over the mountains, they were not aware of all these miracles. So God said, I'm going to make it known how many people I destroyed for them. Thus he sent the well water into the caves to wash out all the limbs. When the Jews saw the well with body parts, they realized the great miracle God had performed for them, and they burst out in song. So there you go.
That was surprising.
Oh snap! As he's driving,
Chezi is driving with one of his shirts.
he took my.
I hear someone saying that like they beat my car game, so I don't know.
Yeah, 7-0. 7-0.
Yeah.
I'll
Nobody
actually,
gets to a shirt game, though.
Yeah, that's true. I can't do it.
there's so many colors God created. Why stick to blue?
And all of them you chose green. Green, the color of puke.
Green and red. It's his Christmas
The
shirt.
color of Mountain Dew. God.
Color of puke. That's what I was looking for. I'm gonna actually get to the office right now. I'll try to join you guys for a little, but busy day. But you guys are doing fantastic work. Keep it up.
So
Thanks.
you were going to tell
Yeah.
us why salt.
About salt? I
Yes.
think I wrote salt to turn. Well, first of all, the salt I'm giving you is like there's different versions of salt because the salt that's the symbolism I'm giving you doesn't relate to the salt of Saddam. That is more of a juxtaposition to honey, and there's a whole story about honey as well in Saddam that they would I think they stuck this woman in honey, and let me get out of the car. I'll be with you guys in a minute.
Oh, I got to hear more about this.
I have
Giving a
no-
woman in honey.
Yeah, I don't remember this story. Although I kind of.
Yeah.
I remember
Why wasn't I invited? My God. Because it's at Sodom. I don't know if I really want to be there. Oh my gosh, there is a massive granddaddy long leg over.
Can I want to ask another question. Why did when people threw a body on Moses' dead body, why did he return back to life?
Wait, what?
What?
When they're burying Moses,
God buried Moses.
or like you know what I'm talking about? Somebody got buried and they threw a body.
Oh, Elisha.
Yeah, Elisha.
Yeah.
That's different. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like Moses. Why? Where'd you get?
Is there a reason why he came back to life, or is it
There are resurrections all over the Bible. I don't know why Christians think resurrections are such.
no? I'm just saying, like, it's
So like what legs were the Sadducees were sitting on, you know? Like
I'm not gonna say like you have all these points about the New Testament being fan fiction, but that feels like fan fiction, just a tiny bit. Lovingly.
The whole story with the well.
Sadducees thought the entirety of the Pharisee Bible was. Like, what Christians, I think, often don't recognize is, like, most Second Temple Jewish sects thought only the 5 books of Moses were really the Bible. They thought the rest of it was just, like, Pharisee.
yeah, like the Qumran community, you know, with Enoch as their
Had
second most.
Yeah.
Second
But that's the Qumran community, as opposed to the Sadducees and the Samaritans. The Samaritan Bible only has the Pentateuch in it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The Sadducee Bible also only has the Pentateuch in it.
Yeah, but they're gone, so
They're gone now, but like all of these other books, there were people who were like, "Oh, this is like Pharisee bullshit," you know?
So I just want to read this. I want to get your thoughts. Elisha died and was buried. Now Moabite raiders used to enter the country every spring. Once, while some Israelites were burying a man, suddenly they saw a band of raiders, so they threw the man's body into Elijah's tomb. When the body touched Elijah's bones, the man came to life and stood up on his feet. Bro, I would be taking all those bones and just start. Like, first of all, who did the Israelites report it back? And they saw that. Oh wait, they can't touch the dead bones, right?
Well, I wouldn't say they can't touch them. Where is this?
This is
Second Kings 13.
Yeah.
So 2 Kings.
I thought Jewish people can't touch the dead bodies.
Dead bodies, yeah.
Well, you become impure if you do, but like becoming impure was a normal thing that happened all the time.
Yeah.
Now priests were like the priestly class should not become unclean. Which verse? 13.
20 and 21.
20 and ויהי הם קוברים איש והנה ראו את הגדוד וישלחו את האיש בקבר אלישע וילך ויגע האיש בעצמות אלישע ויחי ויקם על רגליו וחזאל מלך ארם לחץ את ישראל כל ימי יאחז. Let's see what the commentaries have to say. חוכמת ענק. רש"י ז"ל פרק נגמר הדין פירש שזה האיש היה נביא השקר הזקן אשר החזיר את עדו לאכול. So apparently on the Talmud, Rashi explains that this guy was actually a false prophet who caused these Moabites to come and attack them, and that's why they threw him into Elisha's tomb.
Then he came back to life?
Apparently. Let me see what the Malbim says. ויהי, ובאשר אחר י"ד חודש כבר נתעכל הבשר חשבו שאין להקפיד בזה, מפחד הגדוד השלחו את האיש בקבר אלישע עד שנגע בעצמותיו. ויחי ויקם על רגליו. לצאת משם, כי גוף הצדיק ועצמותיו שהיו ארון מיוחד לקדושה, אין ראוי שיגע בהם לאכול. Wow, so the Malbim's explanation is actually he only came alive to leave the tomb because out of respect for Elisha. Like these people did not have respect for Elisha's tomb. They threw a body in there, and the body stood up and left out of respect, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
that makes sense. So did he die again after he left? He just got up and went and found somewhere else to die? Or he was just...
Sudat David similarly says, yeah, that it was only so that he wouldn't be there.
Hezy's back.
Hezy is back.
What's up?
Hey guys.
What's going
Hey.
on? Izzy?
So,
What were we
What's on
talking
your
about?
mind?
Well,
Dead
The honey,
bodies.
right? The honey lady.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's hear this. We gotta hear more about this.
Actually, I'm thinking about there's another honey lady as well. But we'll start with the first honey lady. So there's I don't know. You guys have Safari open in front of you right now, but there's a verse that talks about Zakat Zdom. The what pasuk is that? You want to open that up if it's still open in front of you?
Sure. What's
Zakat Zdom. Where like God hears
the cries of stone?
the cry, exactly, the cries of Zdom. And the Midrash talks about how the cry is there's this woman over there that tries to do a good deed, and the guys of Saddam, they're like, hell no, we're all about bad deeds in this place. And they want to make an example out of her, and they stick her in this vat full of honey, and bees basically sting her and kill her, and then she yells out, and that's like the yell that God hears. There's another yell like that God hears also in Egypt when he goes to rescue the Israelites. There's a midrash there about a woman that gave birth like while she was working inside the actual the tar they were working with. So like it was another like dramatic experience. Either way, the juxtaposition, the comparison to Lot's wife was because Lot himself was also doing a good deed, which is why they come around his house, because they think that he's like, he's hosting these angels, which they're very against. And his wife in the Midrash tells Lot that he's making a mistake. And that's why when they run away and she turns around, it's sort of like the reverse of what happened to this woman of honey. She was trying to do a good deed and she was punished this way. And now Lot's wife was against the good deed that he was doing, so she's punished. She's punished like with the opposite of honey, which is like a very bitter, element. So that's that honey person. The other honey person is Herod wanted to marry one of these Hasmonean girls, also to make sure his lineage is intact. And when she heard that she has to marry him, she jumps off the roof and she kills herself. But Herod was very persistent, and he took her body and he put it in honey so it would stay intact and fresh. And he would have like this honey wife that would just sit in his room, I guess. I guess it's like the first sex doll.
So is the Red Sea like
Hold
bitter
on.
waters again?
That actually historically happened. I think it was Nero.
Or Caligula. One of them were nuts.
Yeah, one of them killed his wife, and then he was so sad that he murdered her that he
You
preserved
put her in
her.
honey.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that when you walk into, like, if you're Caligula's mom and you walk into his room and you see the honey? Are you like, Caligula? Like, what do you say?
I don't know. It reminds me of
Again.
How do you
Arnold
preserve
Schwarzenegger,
honey?
Mr. Freeze.
Not of honey.
Yeah, but like, is the Red Sea? You're talking about salt being bitter. I don't know. I think salt is salty, but is the Red Sea like bitter waters too? Then
Is that
Good question.
But, like,
Yeah, Chezi has a phone call, and Andrew, you need to go to
Yeah.
study.
okay. Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Yep. I'll see you. Thanks for talking.
how would you do it? Maybe I'd get like a bunch of bees and then I put her in the bees.
I would not do it.
Because I don't know how you would get that much honey. I'm really thinking about this.
What do you mean? If you're the emperor of like Rome, you would get as much honey as you
1,000 years ago, bro, we have like massive honey storages, and at best, like if you get like a big honey thing, like at
What are
best
you
you're gonna-
talking about?
Like, am I crazy for thinking that if you have like a bunch of bees, you can't get that much honey?
Yes, you're absolutely crazy.
How much honey
you can get a lot of honey? I think you can get
So
quite a
they
bit.
actually found these ancient in Israel. They found the oldest beehives in Israel.
But
And there were like beehive Israel ancient.
why are honey jars so small?
Well, yeah, but they add up. I mean, you get more than just one jar from a hive. Of
Yeah.
bees.
Well, how many? Like, we need to work this out. How many jars are in?
Do I need to
one
preserve a woman
beehive?
and
Yeah.
honey?
I would say probably like at least 10.
For a whole woman? You'd need more
Okay,
than that many.
first
jars. Oh, 10
beehive.
hives.
Recently discovered beehives from ancient Israel 3,000 years ago appear to be the oldest evidence for beekeeping ever found, scientists reported. Archaeologists identified the remains of honeybees, including workers, drones, pupae, and larvae, inside about 30 clay cylinders thought to have been used as beehives at the site of Tel Rehov in the Jordan Valley in northern Israel.
30.
This is the first such discovery from ancient times.
Okay.
Although texts and wall paintings suggest that bees were kept in the ancient Near East for the production of precious wax and honey, archaeological evidence for beekeeping has never been found. The researchers, led by Guy Bloch of Israel's Hebrew University of Jerusalem, wrote in a paper in the June 8th edition of the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The hives have a small hole on one side for the bees to come and go, and on the other side is a lid for the beekeeper to use to access the honeycomb. The archaeologists used carbon dating on grains that had spilled from a broken storage jar next to the hives to estimate that they were about 3,000 years old. The exceptional preservation of these remains provides unequivocal identification of the clay cylinders as the most ancient beehives yet found, the researchers wrote. The scientists used a high-resolution electron microscope to study the bee remains and found that their legs and wings suggest that they belong to a different subspecies than the bees currently found in Israel. In fact, the ancient bees most closely resemble those found in modern-day Turkey. That suggests that the ancient people may have imported a specialized bee species for its superior characteristics, such as a milder temper or better honey production. The researchers found 3 rows of these hives in a courtyard that used to be part of a large architectural complex during the 10th to 9th century BC. The location of such a large apiary, that's a honeybee, beehive, in the middle of a dense urban area is puzzling because bees can be very aggressive, especially during routine beekeeping practices or honey harvesting, the researchers wrote. They speculate that maybe the honey was so valuable it was worth placing in such a congested area to keep it safe. Overall, the findings suggest that beekeeping already was an elaborate agricultural practice in Israel 3,000 years ago, Bloch and colleagues wrote. So there you go. They had plenty of honey.
Well, I'm just saying, well, first of all, the guy just has to go in. Doesn't really seem like his beekeeper suit. Maybe they can use fire, right? They didn't say anything about fire. So he's going in. He's just getting stung all the time.
I'm telling you, these people had honey. I don't know how they had honey, but they had
I'm
honey.
looking it up. How much honey?
They had wild honey too. They had it coming out of lions, right?
True.
Samson, he found honey in a lion, so
Okay, I'm wrong.
it's all over.
I'm wrong. 60 pounds of honey each year from one healthy hive. So
That's a lot
you
of
can't be a real woman in that easily.
It's interesting.
Do you think he like had it on the low, like he had a bunch of storages of honey, or did he think he asked us like, man, prepare it because I'm gonna have this?
Why are you asking these silly questions?
Because I
You're so modernist.
because it's
Well-
fascinating. Like this is somebody who's like psychopathic, and he's like it'd be interesting if it was like a 20-day process. We really had to think like, man, do I really want to put my wife in like a tub of honey or not? You know?
He
Or was it like-
apparently murdered her because he found out she was pregnant, and he kicked her to death.
Based.
Based.
This is Nero. I think I've heard this before.
It was either Caligula or Nero, or it might have been here. Well, Herod killed his wife and his 2 sons. These people were vicious
Crazy.
people.
Yeah, that's insane. Dang. Yeah, that's rough. I could see. I mean, that second story makes a little more sense to me because he doesn't really spoil. So yeah, I could see someone thinking, "Hey, I'll put this body in honey." The first one, I'm just always kind of curious about why, why the honey. I mean, I love the story that they dipped her in honey, then the bees stung her to death. I thought that was great. I don't know why that's not in the Bible, but then part of me is like, I don't understand all the. That's what I mean. All the symbolism or whatever is that's connected with all these different
Did you know
different
did you ever
symbols.
hear about the torture method where they would give you a bunch of milk and then they'd cover you in honey and ship you out?
No.
Yeah. The basic.
They give you a bunch
So
of
like
milk.
basically they would have two boats on top of each other. They would put you in the middle. They give you a bunch of milk and honey, and then they cover you in honey. And so basically you would be eaten by flies and bees until you died.
Wait, so bees are that attracted to honey? I thought they were attracted to pollen. That's why I'm confused a little bit.
I gotta look it up. Look up
You're
like
probably, I mean, you're probably right.
I
guess,
have
yeah, the milk
no
would.
idea what this ginger is talking about. This is why gingers don't have a soul.
bees.
Bees.
Talk
Well,
about chat.
there's-
I don't even know who let him
Yep.
into
Scapism.
Scapism. I don't even know who let him into my house.
Yeah, I just walked in.
I'm just always curious how they're connected because like wisdom is connected to olive oil, I think.
Is it?
And
Oh, we still didn't finish
kind
my
of.
story about pomegranates.
We didn't. No, but I know in at least in Greek, I think it is with Athens,
Oh, man, there's next another.
and that is a little bit in maybe in the Hebrew circles as well. Because I know it says a man's wisdom makes his face shine, kind of like if you were to pour oil on him.
So I'm going to tell my story about pomegranates.
All right,
Go.
all right, yeah. I need to hear more about pomegranates.
So there's this tradition that there's 613 seeds in every pomegranate. And
Yes.
for many, many years, I used to tell people, like, there's this tradition, but if you actually go grab a pomegranate and start counting the seeds, you're a silly person. And then somebody showed me a website, and unfortunately the website was taken down, but it existed for a long time, where this unfortunate modern Orthodox guy went through and counted hundreds of pomegranates, and he had spreadsheets, and it showed that the average number of seeds was 613.
No way.
Like, how modernist can you get?
Could-
He actually, like, and people were citing this, and they were like, hey, look, it's average pomegranate has exactly 613 seeds. This guy did like randomized testing of large numbers of pomegranates.
Why is that number though? Why did they come up with it? Is there something significant to that number?
So on Rosh Hashanah, we eat pomegranate and we say, may we be filled with commandments, with mitzvot, like a pomegranate. This is a traditional thing. And the Jewish tradition is that there are 613 commandments. So there developed a Jewish tradition that there are 613 seeds in every pomegranate. And
That's
like for
interesting.
the longest time, I used to always give this as an example of something not to do, which is actually rip open a pomegranate and actually count, because that's just silly.
What if he just started breeding them to get exactly 613? That'd be kind of a boss move.
But he didn't. He just
How do you know that?
statistically, like, he had a whole website. The website's down now though. But you could even download his Excel sheet where he had like all the various types of pomegranates and how many seeds, like and the average numbers, and like he had graphs, and it was this complete modernist like.
So what's all the symbolism behind these pomegranates and how it relates to, like, what does it relate to? Is it fertility? I know they put them on the priest's garments, right, as well, bell and a pomegranate.
Yeah, so Rimon, the word Rimon, I mean, I guess we could look up the word Rimon. Share this tab instead.
Jason, you know they found one of those pomegranates.
From the priest's garment or what?
Yep.
Oh, really?
Wait.
Yep.
From like Aaron's, or what do you mean? One of
Not
those?
Aaron's, but they found a small gold pomegranate with a bell inside, which is what
Wow.
what we learned. And the idea is that it must have fallen like into a drain and then like made it there. But you could look it up online. There's a picture of it. Solid gold.
That's really cool.
Very cool. I mean, they
gold.
claim it's that.
So gold pomegranates from Israel temple garments.
From King Solomon's temple.
Oh, that's so sick. Kind of looks like a golden snitch.
Yeah.
There you go. So
Wow.
golden bell pomegranate from King Solomon's temple unearthed.
Bam, bam.
Odd years, people stood in front of a glass cabinet in the Israel Museum, Jerusalem, and thrilled to view a small ivory pomegranate. It was supposed to be part of the high priest's scepter in Solomon's temple, 516 BCE to 70 EC.
Not the scepter.
Sadly, this was disproved.
What?
Scholars determined that the piece originated in the 13th or 14th century BCE. Its inscription in Paleo-Hebrew, possibly a modern fraud.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Modern fraud.
Whoever wrote this doesn't even know the difference between CE, BCE, and EC.
It's also not on the scepter. It's on his gown. So
No. That's talking about the marble.
I'm very confused.
The marble.
Yeah, ivory. Sorry.
Isn't that really old?
Yeah. Their mistake. The person who's
Maybe.
doing this doesn't. Yeah, that's what he means. No,
This person like meant to. Okay.
no, he's not. The closest physical remnant of Jewry's holiest site, the Western Wall, that survived from the. Okay, whoever wrote this is really bad.
Why do we trust this source?
I don't.
So
So here's Ynets, but it's this in Irgunei Yamin Zonin. This is in Hebrew, but this is not the right thing. No, I could translate that myself. Excuse me, go away.
so why
Very good website.
did they choose to put pomegranates? Like, why did you choose to use that?
it is one of the 7 fruits that Israel was blessed with.
This is
And it is, like you just said, fruitfulness. The whole commandments situation, 613. So that's what it represents. I don't remember something like very, like, I don't remember something like specific, like anything mystical about like the pomegranate.
What are the 7 fruits?
no.
Not even the Black Hebrew is right.
Oh, the Black Hebrew is.
But they don't got the brick.
They're silly.
Oh, your guys.
Look, guys.
What did you
What are
ask?
The LDS.
What are the?
He was
7
asking if anybody actually tries to dress up with the priestly garbs.
Actually, there's well, let me answer Jason first. The 7 fruits are wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives, dates. Dates is what's supposed to be honey, yeah, and dates. Those are the 7 species of the land. And there is an institution called Machon HaMikdash, and they, by commission for Levites or Cohens or priests, you could reserve garbs that they'll make for you for the third temple. Also a little intense.
So this looks like a tiny bit better site. Archaeologists have discovered a rare gold bell during an excavation of the City of David National Park in Jerusalem. Archaeologists have discovered a rare gold bell with a small loop at its end. The finding was made during an archaeological excavation of the City of David by the Israeli Antiquities Authority. The directors of the excavation on behalf of the Antiquities Authority, archaeologist Eli Shufron and Professor Roni Reich of Haifa University, said after the finding, the bell looked as if it was sewn on the garment worn by a man of high authority in Jerusalem at the end of the Second Temple period. The bell was exposed in the city's main drainage channel of that period, between the layers of dirt that had been piled on the floor of the channel. This drainage channel was built and hewn west to the western wall of the Temple Mount and drained the rainfall in the different parts of the city. So I guess somebody was wearing it and it fell down the drain, and that's how we got it.
Must be late to something.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
His wife must have been really mad.
Well, what is what? Been able to see it?
Well, I mean, if it went missing, his wife would have to sew on a new one, you know?
All right.
Where
Yeah, I'm joking.
where does the seven fruits come from?
Joking, Ginger. I'm joking.
I'm joking, Goy.
He's my Ginger.
What are you saying, Jason?
I just asked where the seven fruits come from.
Oh, there's
The Bible.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand that. I guess I just meant. I guess I'm curious because out of all the things you could use, like kind of like what Andrew was asking earlier about salt, like out of
Deuteronomy 8:8.
there's all these other things you could use. So, like, why pomegranates, or why like when you're making the menorah, why do you make it almond tree? Like, why are these things? Like, why do you choose those, like almond blossoms, or that's what's kind of interesting to me. So that's why I'm curious why. Even if it was one of the seven fruits, why do you choose that one to put on the hem of the garment?
Well, that's what the Bible says, first of all. But the commentators usually do give all kinds of things, including gematrias and stuff. Like, if you want to go down that line, there's so much stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I get that. That's what the Bible says, but why did Moses that? I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like, why? If I guess you could just keep saying, okay, well, God told him, but then
No, Jason. So the commentators do actually go through and they give all kinds of reasons. I mean, I don't know the particular one, right? So Elijah really wants to know: do you pronounce the L in almond or not?
I do, but am I not supposed to? Because I know Paul Vanderklay doesn't.
I
He's
don't.
always
but
you don't.
Paul's old.
Is it a California thing that they don't? Almond tree?
I always thought it was an immigrant thing that you did. I know my parents do, and I know all my teachers who don't speak English very well always did. They always said almonds, but that was because they read it and they didn't know how to speak English.
So now Amond?
Almond, right? Almond.
It's,
Okay, almond.
it's a silent L. Almond.
Almond.
Yeah. Okay.
Huh.
Let's see.
I've never heard this before. Where does this word come from?
Almond. Let's see what.
And it's the name of my channel, so I should probably know how to say it, but I just say almond.
Almond. See, they also. Well, apparently there are people who also do with them.
Based.
So there is a minority opinion that it's almond
Why do you know it's not really been-
because
Oh.
that's the majority opinion right there.
Well, it's just-
This is the dictionary.
You're making assumptions.
This is the dictionary.
You're making assumptions.
This is the
I
dictionary.
know what they say about assumptions.
You know what they say about the dictionary?
You're making an ass out of you and me.
The dictionary gets to decide how we say things.
Okay, so all I've been able to gather is that pomegranates, you open them up, there's a bunch of seeds inside, so that might be why they're a symbol of fertility. Don't know
No,
why
there's-
you throw 'em onto the end of a garment.
All of them are they're all supposed to symbolize different aspects of Israel. So let's say the pomegranate is also like hard. It's you could assume you're looking at one thing from the outside, but then again you could look at the inside and you can see that they're full of good deeds. And look, you could look at the date and the date tree itself, and all of it is usable. So the date fully gets eaten and there's no shell. And the leaves are used for praying, and the you could rip out fibers from it and use it for tying strings. So just like that, Israel is the people of Israel are fully every aspect of them is for there's like a function. There's a function to it. They have like oil, right, and that's like supposed to be like that we don't mix with like the other nations, right? Oil rises to the top, so that has to do with like the olives that we have. There's more. Well, there's more stuff over there, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
there's
what I mean.
so many
All this stuff is lost on me.
commentaries which talk about this stuff. It's almost like which commentary do you
yeah,
want? Like there's
right.
no
It also
and answers to this.
it gets embedded. It gets embedded into. It gets embedded into, let's say, many of the festivals and many of the holidays where you have to, it's tradition to show these 7 species. So,
Jason, you have to learn Hebrew.
Okay. I
You
know. It's just a
would
matter of
not
time thing. I have thought that for years.
You would not have
Yes.
nearly this many questions if you knew Hebrew.
Just give them a
All
task.
this stuff is lost to me because I don't have a pomegranate tree, so I can't actually experience that. But I guess I'm just curious about these things because there's even Greek stories, like Trey was saying earlier. The pomegranate shows up in Greek stories, and I just kind of asked why. Like, why would they pick this thing? Like Persephone is down in Hades, and she eats a pomegranate, so she's not allowed to leave Hades after that. And I'm like, why?
well,
Why a
I
pomegranate?
mean, I guess a pomegranate, and you could be like, well, this is true about a tangerine, but it is, you're not expecting to see that inside the pomegranate, basically. When you open up and then you see like this tremendous amount of seeds inside, and you could eat all of them. So it's like one thing that could sustain like a big group, right? Like you're only going to have a few little slices of that apple or a few little slices of that tangerine if you open it up. But the pomegranate is it has a tremendous amount of seeds inside. So you could play around with that idea of the potential that's in there. Same thing with like she's stuck in Hades right now, right? So she's stuck inside that shell. But if she manages to eat that and see the potential inside her, she could remove herself from that shell and get out. By the way, also like Sada, like Lot's wife turning around and turning into salt. I forget who it is right now in the Greek myths that he goes down to save his wife, and he comes out playing this flute, and the idea is that he could leave with Hades with his wife if he doesn't turn around, and then he turns around and
Yeah,
she
I love this
she
story.
gets
That's one of my favorite
sucked
Greek
back
stories.
down. Right. So like there's similarities there as well.
Yeah, that's great. Do you know anything about mandrakes? That was the other question I had.
Dudaim. He's asking about the Dudaim.
What about the Dudaim?
What's going on with this?
why
Where
Dudaim?
she's asking for his mandrakes in the baby making contest they're having.
You're talking about with Reuben.
Yeah.
These big questions. This is something that like in school they wouldn't read about it.
Sorry, you don't have to answer.
I'm not like embarrassed to answer. It's a interesting story. I just hope I'm not getting cut off by another phone call right now. But so right, there's that. How do I frame this? First of all, it's an older. This predate that doesn't predate Judaism, but like it's already known by the nomads over there as like a healing or fertile plant. Is it a plant? I think it's a plant. And I think you also have it in the Greek. Well, you would tell me, where do you see it in the Greek literature? But I believe it's in the Greek literature as well. And it's also used as like a love potion or like a fertility potion. So that's where that's coming up again. And you know, Reuben is giving it to sort of indicate like fertility.
Okay.
Where does it show up in the Greek? I'm saying I said it shows up in the Greek, but if you didn't,
I'm
Where
not
did it come
that
from
familiar
there
with
now?
Greek stuff. I'm not like a Greek expert, so I don't really know where
what is it called in what is it called in English again?
Well, my translation translates it mandrakes, and I think it shows up in Song of Songs as well too. It says something about the mandrakes giving off a fragrance or something like
Here,
that.
mandrakes.
They look like little. I mean, it's a
Mandrakes.
root. Mandrake,
Wow. I'm right.
and the root looks like a little lady or something like that. Yeah, they look
Greek
like little people.
mythology. Mhm. Folklore. Mhm. In the Bible. That's what we spoke about. Yeah, there's some fertility. That's it. Those are the secrets.
The secrets. All right. Well, I don't know.
I'm
Those are
sorry
my
that
questions.
that little rabbit hole didn't go too deep.
I mean,
No, it's fine. I just those are my questions.
I found a Safaria sheet talking about Dudaim.
sounds like a rap lyric.
Where? What did you do with Jason? Where'd you go, Jason? How dare you leave us? I found a Safaria sheet that has stuff about Dudaim or mandrakes on it.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
I'm having Zevi Slavin from Seekers of Unity come to my house on Sunday to give like this intimate, in-depth lecture / conversation about mysticism and Kabbalah and how we integrate these things in our day-to-day life.
And you're gonna stream it?
I didn't think about that. I guess I could do that.
You should stream it.
At the very least, record it. Yeah, I could do that.
That sounds awesome.
So a few different people are coming back.
And you have to find a way of reaching out to my cousin.
To Juven,
Yeah.
I liked your email.
It was a fiery email. I actually
Fire.
felt kind of bad after it. But
Why did you feel bad? It was a beautiful email. I hope everyone was as passionate as you.
So like Jubin is this cousin of mine. He's kind of a distant cousin, but he's a cousin of mine who's like this amazing person. Absolutely amazing person. Like just an incredible person. And he's not been teaching Torah, and it just kills me.
The
Should
Cholzman
he be teaching
Vayet.
Torah?
What?
Should he be teaching Torah?
Yes.
I've always-
I asked him if he would teach 5 minutes a week on my channel, and he said he's not sure. He's got to ask his wife. There's internet involved, and
He doesn't do internet.
he does not do internet.
Is he an Orthodox Jew?
Yes.
Why does he have to ask his wife?
Yeah,
You mean
should ask
he's-
the Lord?
He's an ultra Orthodox Jew, first of all, no, Jacob?
Well, the funny thing is, he's actually part of your camp more than my camp.
If he's not using the internet and he lives in RBS, he's probably not from my camp.
Really, RBS is
RBS is hardcore
sorry.
black and white. There's like my brother and sister live like really in a little bubble, and they're moving from there as well. But when they moved there 25 years ago, it said it's fun being secular in RBS, and there was no longer the status anymore. And
Hold on, these are your secular brother and sister?
no, not my secular brother and sister. They're Orthodox. Just one of my brother's a rabbi there, but they have like modesty police in some of the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
They have, which is obviously very intense, to the level of like, women can only walk on this side of the street and men can only walk on that side of the street, and the city's constantly fighting with them. Like anytime they plant, again, this is the more extreme groups in this congregation, in this neighborhood, but anything that the city gives them, so like benches, like they punch out the city symbol, and any trees they rip out. I don't know. It's a little sad.
Why rip out the tree?
They want nothing that the government's giving them.
Oh, Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, it's nothing like, it's so fun to grow up in a concrete jungle as a child and not have any trees or any benches. So fun. It's fun, something older men like, walking in the boiling hot sun and have nowhere to rest because all the benches have been completely flipped over.
Did you grow up there?
But I did not grow up there. This is this too will pass. This is obvious. This relates a lot to the big tensions that are in Israel right now with.
If your brother's a rabbi in RBS, then he should be able to talk to Judy.
My brother is a rabbi. He practices as a lawyer in Tel Aviv, living that Tel Aviv life. He happens to be a rabbi.
He's a lawyer.
Oh, so they may know each other.
So you should talk to your brother.
Sure, you got it.
Jubin. So okay. So
Wait, what's the big tensions going on?
What?
The tension in Israel going on is that there is a forced mandatory army service in Israel. However, in the establishment of the state, there was a very small group of Orthodox Jews that were saying, like, listen, we need an exemption because we got to be learning the Torah all day, all night. That's the meaning of our existence. That's why we made it even back over here. So you got to let this happen. And Ben Gurion at the time was saying, yeah, I'll play around with 400. And I understand that, like, the cultural importance of this. Sure. This exemption.
Orthodox Judaism was going to die.
Right. He thought it would die out. But they have like 6 to 7 kids. And it is a massive group in Israel. It's a very large minority in Israel.
And when they offered that they would go serve after the age of 25, everyone said, no, we can't brainwash kids people that are already 25. There's no way that you can have 25-year-olds do army service. They must be young enough for us to brainwash. Right, Pezzi?
I'll give a different take. I'll give a different take on that. But what Jacob was trying to say. So they you have to go in at 18. They were saying no. They got exempt, and they managed to basically. The deal was either you serve, and if you don't serve, you gotta commit to be learning for many years.
Until you're 40.
Okay, and you can't have a side job or anything like that. Like that, if you're saying that's the commitment, then that's the commitment. The problem is this is causing a huge strain on the economy because you have all these people that are not working, that are not serving, and a lot of these people are not educated the same way, so they can't come into the workforce. Problem number one. Now, obviously, this needs to be resolved, and there is already inside the ultra-Orthodox communities, there's already a split. Many of them realize these tensions, these economic tensions and these cultural tensions, and many of them the women are going into tech, and they're opening up more and more universities that are for the ultra-Orthodox, and this is something that's going to naturally correct itself, it requires patience from the populace, which is difficult because if it's just some guy in Texas, then why do I need to be patient? If I look at ourselves all as brothers, then that's sort of like a different story. On top of that, you also have to lay on another layer of tension, which is the ultra orthodox say, sure, we'll serve. We don't want to do the army because like it's you make us serve with women, and there's a whole like modesty issue over there, and dietary restrictions issues over there. However, we will serve. We will do national service, which is like work in hospitals or work with old age homes. But if we're doing that, the Arabs have to serve as well. And that's another level of tension because the Arabs are citizens, but clearly you can't have the Arabs serving in the army. So they need to do something else. And that, that's a push and pull.
The Tal Commission said 25, and the seculars went no.
Okay, so wait, with that regard, Jacob is correct that they were complaining that they won't be able to indoctrinate these kids. Having said that, when I was in the army, right, I was an officer in the Air Force, a chaplain in the Air Force, and I oversaw a program called Blue Dawn. And in Blue Dawn, the whole push was, which was very successful, was you have brilliant civilians over here that are learning, spending all their day learning these ancient texts, making these connections, and these are mature people. Let's take them after they're at 25, and let's bring them into the army. Let's offer them a solid salary and have them work as technicians on airplanes or things of that nature. And that was fairly successful.
And to answer Elijah, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky served before the Nakba.
Was that really old guy you were looking at?
Yes.
Man, that guy was old.
Well, in 1947, he helped with the army before the establishment of that state.
So
I don't know all the politics of it.
Yeah, stuff. I don't know.
Wow.
So, human sexuality.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. We kind of never really got to that. We kind of skirted around it.
Just a little bit. We were running around doing lots of different things.
First of all,
Yeah.
Graham Griff's point that like sex can't be a like act for God seems a bit weird.
That Grimm said that?
He said that why like there's tantric sex or whatever it's called in like Buddhism, like Hinduism.
Okay.
Kama Sutra. You know what?
Yes.
I would
he's
say
a left wing.
Well, I would say that everyone's a progressive Christian. Okay, I'm gonna pull
So what
the.
is this coming from?
He's woke.
This was
No.
the earlier conversation where you guys were talking about sexuality.
If
You're trying to get him to
Well,
confess.
So yeah, I mean, when we were talking about the human sexuality report, he wanted to pretend like it's possible to have gay marriage and still be a Christian. 127.
Oh my gosh.
Ve'ivra Elokim et ha'adam b'tzelmo, b'tzelem Elokim bara oto, zachar u'nekeva bara ota. And if Christians weren't Trinitarians and didn't have eisegesis,
Yeah, I know that.
then they could recognize that in order to be in the image of God, you must be a married couple. And that's why when a married couple comes together, they do what is the most holy thing that any human being is capable of doing, which is giving birth to another human person.
This is before the fall.
This is before the incarnation of Adam and Eve. Why are you going to the Hebrew Bible, Jacob? That's the Old Testament. Duh, it's abrogated.
Oh, because I mentioned the
Well, I don't know. I didn't really understand how the Trinity is like.
Well,
bad for that.
because
I guess because
there's no feminine. There is no feminine
Oh.
part of the Trinity.
Well,
I
So
see what you're saying.
the feminine is completely. So this is the complete image of God is man and wife together.
this is also a text that's always been used for Trinitarian arguments. I guess something with the Hebrew, right? Genesis 1:27, right? Crazy.
Oh, 126.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, 126. Because here, when God speaks, he says, "Let us make naaseh
Yeah.
Adam." Yeah, but it's a silly argument, and Trinitarians can go.
I thought that's what you were going with.
No.
I kind of see what you're saying. I guess
Look,
because
it
the
asks
Trinitarian.
Then, if you recognize that the image of God is a married man and wife, if you realize that you cannot completely be a complete, the perfect man, the perfect human, the perfect incarnation, the perfect icon of God without being male and female, like Jesus wasn't married. Therefore, Jesus fails.
But then you could just make the
completely,
argument that he should be a hermaphrodite, right?
Well,
And you just
androgynous. The
I'm
Adam
joking.
Kadmon was. So this is what the Jewish tradition teaches: is that Adam Kadmon was in fact androgynous, and that when it says that God took Adam's side, not rib, and that's actually Pajot's little icon there, right, of the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, Jesus, sans wife, cannot be the icon of God that Christians want him to be. And because of that, Christians can't have a reasonable, rational, biblical view of sexuality.
Wait. I didn't follow the last part. Because Jesus is single. Is that what you're saying? What's the argument?
Jesus didn't have a wife. Like
on earth.
He was not.
Does in heaven.
He will. That's what Mary Magdalene's for, right?
No.
Isn't there all those stories about her?
Well, this is
Revelation.
when I brought this up.
Okay,
When I
let's
brought
go to
this up during the Greek Bible study, this is what Father Stephen also said: is Jesus was not married yet.
Yes.
That Jesus
yeah.
will be married.
Revelation.
Okay.
I'm married yet. But this is
Yeah,
a unity. I mean, this would be it's
This
kind
is
of
the
like
game
I mean I get
Christians always play with. Jesus obviously isn't the Messiah, but he will be.
yeah. Well, no, I mean what I was saying is that there's a weird little I guess you could say that the way they're trying to make I mean it seems fractal to me because then you just scale all the way up to God being married with his creation, which is the as what is it on earth as in heaven type thing, the unity of heaven and earth. So you have God the Father, then Mother Earth.
Right. Well, I mean, there
yeah.
is that concept in Judaism as well, but that leaves Jesus being incomplete.
I guess I would say that right now, right? Because I mean, they're talking about the New Jerusalem comes down out of heaven as a bride adorned for her husband. I think is what it says in Revelation. Then, it talks about what Revelation 19, which her being adorned in the righteous acts of the saints or something, and being prepared for God. And I know that's not Mary Magdalene. I just say Mary Magdalene because that she's supposedly people reference her as a harlot, which I now learn that's offensive to do. But you have God's married to his bride. You could say Israel. Then in Ezekiel, she's called the harlot. So you have him redeeming the harlot, basically, and then restoring the covenant with her,
Technically,
which is an all creation, I think, right? Go ahead.
technically
Sorry.
Christ is married, I think.
Who? What?
He's saying technically Jesus is married.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I got wrong theology. Second
He's married.
Corinthians 11:2. I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy. I promise you to one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a pure virgin to him. I think, well, and he's talking about the church, and I think we can also link that to Ephesians 5:25-27. Husband, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for her, so that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing water with the word, and he might present to himself the church in all her glory, have no spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she would be holy and blameless. So he's
Mhm.
married to the church, guys. Mic'd up.
We're in Greek Bible study again. I'm going to bed. Don't go to bed. Don't go to bed. Let's tie this back in. So what? Why don't you join? Just click the link. Hop on here.
The only time Elijah
well-
comes on, he wears his mask and his
Yeah.
clown hat.
Yeah, do that.
Well, why?
Chopping up the
So
virgin.
why does this? No, but going back to the sexuality question, why is I don't
Because
understand the
the
argument necessarily.
The perfect, so it is very, very clear in Judaism that men and
Yeah,
a man should marry a woman.
Well, wait. How many
Yeah.
women?
But I would
One-
think that
One. Wait. Just one woman.
Yeah.
Right? But there were men in the Bible who had many wives.
Yes, that was
Okay.
not ideal.
Okay, not ideal, but God accepted it.
What? Okay. God accepts the world as being a non-ideal thing, or else God would destroy the
But
entire world.
he didn't punish these people for it.
Well, kind of did. There is not a single instance of a happy marriage in the Bible where someone has more than one wife. In every single instance in the
But
Bible
there's
where
different
there is
reasons.
more than one wife, it is an unhappy marriage.
Well, Solomon, the reason he got God was because he married foreign wives.
Right. I am telling you, every single instance of polygamy in the Bible is a negative one. Every single one. And you can give me reasons for each one, but that again points to the fact that the ideal has always been one wife, one man, one husband,
What?
one wife.
Why is that though?
The married
That's
one.
interesting. I mean, no, that's interesting to me. Like, why does that just tend to happen? Is it because I'm thinking of Rachel and is it because one ends up being loved more than the other one?
Rachel
Do you
and
think
Leah.
as
Yeah,
well?
I mean, the Bible is teaching us.
Wait.
So this goes back to the same thing actually you were saying before about slavery.
Yeah.
The Bible
Well, it's not-
over and over and over again tells us stories about how we fail to live up to the ideal, and how by not trying to live up to the ideal, we actually make the world a worse place, or because the world is a fallen place, sometimes we have to live at less than the ideal. And yes, I mean, that's part of the lesson. The lesson of the Bible is we live in a fallen world.
What marriages were there only had one partner? I'm trying to think.
Isaac and
Abraham and Sarah.
Rebecca. Isaac is
Oh no,
the example of the perfect man.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Abraham. Well, did he marry Hagar?
Abraham married Hagar and Keturah, although rabbinic thing says Hagar and Keturah were the same person.
Huh,
Um,
that's interesting.
so 1 for 1. So Isaac and Rebecca.
Isaac and Rebecca, and also Joseph and Asnat.
And they had a perfect relationship.
That's interesting. Huh.
Well, also
Joseph and us.
the marriage didn't go too well, so
Adam and Eve.
yeah, pick your choices.
Well, I mean, human
I
beings.
thought it went all right.
Adam and
I
Eve.
don't. I don't.
Well, I mean, one of their kids killed the other one of their kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was pretty rough.
And there's
That's pretty rough.
suggested incest, so we're vibing with that.
The Bible is filled. I mean,
Oh, what's your thoughts on Seth's wife? I mean,
on whose wife?
Seth's wife
Seth's wife. What about Seth's wife?
or Cain's wife?
What about Cain's wife?
In the beginning in Genesis, basically it says that like Cain found other humans.
Right. So there are various explanations. One of them is that actually every time it says that, so there's a type of word in Hebrew that doesn't exist in English, which is called a direct object marker. And so when there is a direct object marker, there's an idea that other things are implied, but it doesn't actually say them explicitly because it couldn't possibly. And so when it says that Eve bore a son, right, there are direct object markers there, and you could either understand them as additional creations or additional children being born. And yeah, there is, I mean, the typical explanation given is that actually Cain, Abel, and Seth were all born with multiple other siblings.
Oh, so incest. Gotcha.
Yes. But back then there were no other human beings.
Yeah, I know.
And that's actually the explanation of what
That
Lot's daughters,
perfect. Yeah.
Lot's daughters would have were thinking, because they thought, I mean, no, was it Lot's daughters or no? Yeah, Lot's
daughters.
that the explanation of what they were thinking is, oh, back when there were no other human beings, there was no choice, therefore.
Is that frowned upon? I mean, back then. I mean, I know it is now, but like.
Yeah, it was definitely frowned upon, but like,
Well,
They were perfect. That's the argument.
what do you mean they were perfect?
Paul always thought that basically they were like closer to perfection, so like the
No.
incest didn't mess them up too much.
Well, no, that you have such a modernist reading of the Bible.
That's what I was taught
Oh,
by
yeah.
fundamentalists.
No, exactly. The fundamentalism, Christian fundamentalism,
Oh, yeah, I
is
forgot.
modernist. Yes. All of this comes from bad Enlightenment theology.
well,
the
I just.
The idea is that life and nature before, like, there are various epochs in the Bible. There are eons in the Bible. So things were fundamentally different before the flood than after the flood. Things were fundamentally different before the giving of the Torah on Sinai as after. So when we talk about things from different eons, different rules applied, in a sense. What are you thinking, Jason?
No, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I guess that maybe works, but then I feel like you run into the, you kind of run into the problem now then, because couldn't you just make the argument tracing now and they were in a different eon, so now sexuality is for something different?
You could, but this is exactly so. The JWs were originally Bible students, right?
Yeah.
And what was the case? So 3 major religions came out of the Second Great Awakening, which is the JWs, the Mormons, and the Seventh-day Adventists. And all of them were attempts at maintaining the Reformation spirit by integrating what was known of science at the time with the Bible and a hyper-literal understanding of the King James Version of the Bible, because that's all they had, by people who were not very well educated, actually. And so they came up with all of these theories and weird things, which were based on very, very literal understandings of the King James Version of the Bible, mixed with 18th and 19th century scientific understanding.
I think you should also understand that JWs have more updates than Mormons.
They do, well, I'm not sure
So
you can
I would-
have more updates.
I would be surprised if like there wasn't other references saying that because they were perfect, it wasn't that bad. The incest. I've heard that from other places.
Oh, I mean, nope.
All right.
Jason, we don't want to hear you. You're not the co-host of this Bible study.
Well, can I ask, like, I want to,
Up.
I'd like to ask you, like, a serious question like that I think would actually help me out. Because, like I said, I think before we started streaming, that when we talk, oftentimes when I talk about sexuality, or even when I try to figure it out in my head, but when I talk about it with conversations with religious people, Christians, a lot of times it either feels like it runs in circles or just gets twisted up in my head. Because I honestly, at this point, when I'm in conversation, I can't understand what sex is for. Because maybe it's because of things like contraception and things like that. Because, well, here's the thing. It seems like I can list off 3 things people tell me all the time: procreation, intimacy, and pleasure. It's like those are the 3 things. And it's like if you get pleasure, basically, and which I don't think any of those are wrong. Like, I mean, I think you can have all 3, and sex positivity, negative, whatever. Those things, I guess that seems like a wrong way to, maybe not wrong way to approach it, but it's just like if I take one of those away. So if I take away the idea of procreation, or which I don't think contraceptions are bad either. I'm not making a case one way or the other. I'm just saying if I start using contraception, then I'm taking the idea of procreation out. So now it's just intimacy and pleasure. And then why can't engagement? If you want to know someone better, like wouldn't homosexuals have a point then at that case?
Right.
And then
if you have a biblical view where you understand that sex is in fact the rectification of the split of Adam from Eve, like the Bible says, right? That the perfect image of God is masculine and feminine, and that God splits the human image into 2, and the pleasure, procreation, and intimacy is all properly attained towards representing God in the world by the reunification of the masculine and the feminine, then you don't have any of these questions. But because you can't say that as a Christian is why Christians have a confused sexual morality.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Because because everything you're saying, and in my head it makes sense. I mean, I would totally agree with you, but
Because
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, actually you go.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I still think that as much you want to dance around it, I think, okay, we're talking about God making the fundamental laws, the fundamentals. So you're starting with a male and then he creates a female.
No.
What, male, then female?
Nope.
No, he's saying they're both together as one. You have masculine and feminine united. Heaven and earth
That's
are together.
Oh, wait.
Genesis 1:27 says, what does Genesis 1:27 say again?
He made them in his image, male and female.
Because Genesis 2 is when they are split apart.
Yeah, it's
So
the same. As,
127 is. Are you showing
Wait,
this?
I'm so confused.
oh no,
Yes,
I'm
you
not.
So let me explain.
It's
Okay.
it's like
So
Go
God says, God says, let us make man in our image as our likeness, and let him dominate the fish. So God's going to make man in his own image,
Yes.
right? And thus, God created man in his image, in the form of God. He created him, singular, oto, right?
Yes.
Zachar unekeva bara otam. Male and female, he created them, right?
Yeah.
So God created man, male and female,
Yes.
and then separated them into two. And that's exactly what Genesis 2 says when it says that.
I saw that he was lonely. Very confused on that.
He says it is not good for man to be alone, right?
Yeah.
So unified. I will make him a thing.
Wait,
and
no,
what God did was he split him into two.
Right. So that was not
Hmm.
original.
this is fascinating.
He notices something.
No, this is all a description. This is all before the fall. The split of Adam from Eve
Yes.
was before the fall.
No. I'm saying, look, scroll up. There's also another point. It is not good for man to be alone.
Mhm.
I will make a helper for him.
Yes.
So God is realizing something.
God, where'd you get realizing?
Well,
It's not a change. There's no change here.
so how does he understand that it's not good for a man to be alone?
Because God knows.
So he makes a man, and then what
So
does he say?
okay,
then?
no. Okay,
So he already knows he's alone, and then he's just like retrofitting
No. So this is why we have the concept of Adam Kadmon and Adam Rishon.
Yes.
Adam Kadmon is primordial man, which is ideal man,
Yes.
before actual physical creation.
Yes.
And then we have Adam Rishon, the first man, Adam,
Yes.
who is separate from his wife Eve, and that is the physical creation, is Adam Rishon and Chava,
Who is separate.
who are separate, yes. So primordial man is androgynous, while actual physical man is not. I will lend you Lonely Man of Faith, which you can read when you go home.
Yes, I gotta read that.
Which talks about it. Where is Lonely Man of Faith? I have it on my. I have it.
You called me the Lonely Man of Faith. Okay.
Did I actually call you the Lonely Man of Faith?
It is not good for man to be alone.
It is.
So
not-
is he saying the next man is not good for him to be alone?
No, I mean you can also read it. It is not good for. So I mean the commentators explain that it's actually pretty short. Explain that in being one, he was too close to godliness, and the angels wanted to worship him, whatever that means. And therefore, God had to decrease the holiness of the actual created human by splitting him apart.
It's just
Knew he was going to split them apart anyways.
Yes. God knew everything from the very beginning. He knew all about the fall as well.
So,
God
Sure.
so God makes him lonely.
makes him alone. Where'd you get lonely from?
Because if you're saying it's not good to be alone, then you're
Right.
lonely.
No. It says it is
Okay,
not
fine.
good for man to be alone,
Alone.
to be. Yeah. So why exactly
So
it is not
why
good?
why is that there? Why isn't that the start?
We're still in Genesis 2.
No, I mean, it seems. Am I crazy in seeing like it's a realization? Because he's saying I'm going
Okay.
to make like it's like
Okay.
we have
okay,
man,
okay,
and then
okay.
he's realizing something,
Okay.
and he's doing something about it.
So you have to understand
Yes.
that the Hebrew Bible is an exposition
Yes.
so that we can better understand an infinite God in our finite world.
Okay.
Therefore, there is an exposition and narrative, right? God didn't need to create the world with 10 statements. He didn't need to say anything.
I'm
Right?
being a bit too literal.
Just a tiny bit. But what does it mean for God to say, right? God expresses things and creates the world through expression by taking that which is completely unified, which is himself, and in fact expressing and saying and bringing forth that which is less than he himself, in order for you to have what's called Seder Hishtalshalut, which is the order of the degradation of godliness to the point where it can, in fact, be comprehensible in the finite.
I have a question that might be somewhat related. So, God, so in the way the man was fully unified, then good for him to be alone, and so he finds this. He splits apart the woman to help her. Is the same way God was fully unified? Does he do the same thing with wisdom? Is that what Proverbs 8 is about?
You could, I mean, Proverbs 8. I'm no expert in Proverbs 8.
Well,
but
wisdom's kind of giving a discourse, but wisdom is compared as speaking as feminine, and she says, "I was before the worlds were created, before there was a heaven and an earth. I was with him," and so. Okay.
So this is the part 2, the tree of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there are 3 intellectual faculties which are split into Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at. Chokhmah is usually translated as wisdom. Bina is usually translated as understanding, and Da'at is translated as knowledge. And it is the combination of the masculine Chokhmah and the feminine Bina, which leads to Da'at, knowledge. Like it says, Adam knew his wife and she conceived.
Yeah. So if we want to be real literal, we could say Adam was having sex with himself. If you're going to go back to all the incest talk with
God was reuniting Adam and
just
Eve.
okay. I know. I'm just being stupid.
Well, actually,
You're making my cat want to flee the Bible study. This is all your fault.
No. I'm sorry, Shadow. I'm sorry.
Sexuality point, right? Or were you gonna say something, Jason?
No, I mean it'd be good to go back to that point. The only other stuff I was thinking about in terms of the sexuality thing was how maybe the Garden of Eden ties into that, because there's some sort of weird play where Sarah, whenever she's going to have Isaac, references Eden again. I think she says, "Shall I really have Eden in my old age?" or something like that. And so I didn't know if there's a connection there as well with because the word is translated pleasure, right? I think for Eden or something like that. And so she says, "Shall I really have pleasure in my old age?" whenever she's going to have a child. So that's what I think I was kind of getting at too, where they all seem to be connected.
I mean, they are all in a sense connected. They are, yes.
Yeah, and then when I divorce one of them, it seems like just the concept of sexuality becomes incredibly difficult to talk about.
Well,
especially like you're saying in a lot of Christian circles, it seems that way to me. But
yeah, and like I like to point out, when it says that God casts Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, it actually says the word used there is divorced. God divorced
Oh.
Adam and Eve. Based.
Yeah. That's sad. So sad.
So why?
We've been going at this for 2 hours.
Yes, I wanted to get
We
to the
can
good
we
stuff.
can continue after the prayer, but we should say the prayer so that people who want to stop after 2 hours can stop. And I nominate you to
Okay.
say that.
I need to make a Jewish prayer. I'm not going to use God's name, so. Lord, we thank you for this ability to come together and to study your word. And even though there may have been a bit of ruckus, we ask for your guidance to keep the important parts as we walk through our day, and so that we can walk with you with your word. So we say this in respect to you. Amen.
It's fine if you want to pray in Jesus' name. I don't
I-
mind any form of idolatry you guys want to introduce into this Bible study. We allow all forms of Christian idolatry.
Like I was in a Hebrew Bible study, and I always pray that way. You're like asking me to do all this stuff. Like I can't even say.
I'm telling you, it's fine. Any idols you want to pray in the name of.
What were you gonna ask though, Trey, before you had to do the prayer?
Yeah. Okay. So God allows them to have multiple wives. What is the reason for them having multiple wives, Jacob?
In all of those cases, it's always a concession to something that happened, right? So you have Abraham and his wife thinks that this is the way for Abraham to have a child is for him to take another wife, and that is a concession, and it turns out poorly. And then with Jacob, similarly, you have he promises Laban, Laban marries him off to Leah before, and he had promised Rachel to marry her, and therefore there's a concession there. And it's always a case. It is never ideal in the Bible to have multiple wives, ever. There is no case of an ideal multiple marriage in the Bible.
I have a question relating to that then, because this just came to my mind. Because you have David, and King David marries multiple wives. I just didn't know if there could be.
And it didn't exactly come out very well, did it?
No. But could there be a parallel with God? If God Himself is He only married to Israel, or is there a way like a further hope that He'll be married to all nations? And would that kind of look something like multiple wives, or no?
No. So in Song of Songs, you have the wife, and you have the husband, you have the wife, and then you have the other women.
What about Moses?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Again, it was never an ideal
No,
situation.
hold up. Well, what happened to Moses?
There are people who say that actually Moses only had one wife. Explicitly in the Bible, there's no it doesn't anywhere explicitly say that he had multiple wives. There are some people who say he had two wives, but in both cases, there's no. Yeah,
It's not that clear.
Right. The reason I was always told that God allowed multiple.
No, Andrew, no StreamYard link. You have to go study.
Is that it would make Israel flourish, and that was allowed to basically allow Israel to be flourish, and that's also why we have the emphasis on the idea that the mother makes the person Jewish, not the father.
I don't know.
That's still. There's nothing that says God needed. If God wanted to, every human being would always have like 5 kids like cats and dogs do.
I know. I'm just trying to.
Oh my gosh.
Argument
Yeah.
that
Oh gosh.
because you know Jason like
Jay-
David Wolpe's argument, right?
No, I don't know Wolpe's argument. I don't care about Wolpe's argument. I don't know why you listen so much to David Wolpe.
I don't know who that is.
He's my nemesis.
I don't know.
You're nuts.
I don't know why you don't go to the synagogue. It's right there.
I'm a gold.
He doesn't care.
Anyways, I think
Garth, why are you still awake?
I don't know. I probably had to
It's
hop
like
off here.
2
It's
a.m.,
almost 3 a.m.
but
It's
like
3 a.m. for me, so
there's been like
Jason, why are you up so late? Don't you have to
I
work?
gotta go. Yeah, I do. I gotta work in the morning, and then I go into work in the afternoon, so I gotta work all day tomorrow. So I'll probably hop off here actually. So, but
Which,
thanks for doing this.
Pizza Hut
Uh,
or
Both of them. I work in the morning for my dad. I gotta go do some foreclosure sales. So people getting kicked out of their house. How nice of me. The bank is foreclosing. I just gotta read the paper, but I am the guy to read the paper. So, and then I think I have like 3 of those, and well, 2 of them are postponements. So I just gotta kind of hang out around the courthouse, and I don't know if I have some other work for that job. And then I go into Pizza Hut at, I think 4 till close till midnight or something. I work 4 till midnight.
and Garth is working second shifts because he's got to buy that ring and he wants to buy a nice diamond ring.
Oh, nice.
hey,
All right.
uh,
Thanks for doing this, and thanks for doing it so late too. So
Thank
hope you
you.
figure out all the ins and outs of sexuality. But
yeah, we'll do it.
you already got it.
I know everything. Is there
I-
any
question
question I have been incapable of answering in the world?
No, I've honestly for probably a year now, whenever I've heard you speak sexuality, specifically Jacob, it has made more sense to me than when I have spoken to, like most Christians. Like I left a comment in Paul's video, which I'm sure thousands of people did, but I just basically said I have been trying to talk about this topic with people for probably 6 years now. And it gets nowhere. That's what I mean. It just goes in circles all the time. And
I'm
I
telling you,
think
it's the Trinity. All theological problems go back to the Trinity.
I don't see how it's a trinity, but to me, it's maybe a bunch of other things. But I don't know how it's a trinity. I do see what you're saying though, in that the Trinity points to like a Father and a Son and Holy Spirit. So there is no. You could maybe argue the
Where's the mother and the daughter?
No, hold up.
most people would probably argue the Holy Spirit is feminine, but I don't really
There are people who make that argument, but there are also people who say that that's absolutely what you call it,
Heretical.
correct.
crazy. Yeah, because Jesus, the helper or something. I don't know. But you already know what I think
And then
about
where's the daughter?
Christianity anyway.
Like
I don't know.
father, mother, son. Where's the daughter?
What about the scripture that
Yeah.
says, husbands give your due to your wives and wives give your due to your husbands?
That sounds like it might be not from the Bible.
It is. It's basically saying, help the, make sure the husband.
Yeah, but that's
And
not
then
from
make sure
the
the wife-
real Bible.
You need Paul? You don't
Yeah.
think Paul counts?
No,
Oh, you don't got a scripture like that in the OT.
no, you do not.
The Trinity is not the nuclear family. What does that mean?
Because I keep on saying like, "Where's the daughter?"
Where's the daughter?
Yeah.
'Cause-
Wait. I would think the Trinity is the nuclear family. But
Exactly. And the nuclear family is a nuclear disaster.
wait. Let me see here.
you know
I
what?
don't know. What am
I
I?
was-
Hold on, Garth. What do you mean second shift people get? Do you only work second shift, or are you working 2 shifts? Because if you're working 2 shifts, you should be getting paid more than $1.50 extra. You should be getting paid time and a half at least.
I don't know what nuclear family means then. I have no idea.
Nuclear family is husband, wife, and children.
Yeah.
That's the nuclear.
Yeah,
family.
that's what I thought, right? So how's that And you're saying that's a nuclear disaster? What?
Yes.
Why would you say that?
It is a nuclear
Uh,
disaster.
Bring polygamy back.
Yeah.
I'm so,
Yeah.
all right.
Bring
I don't know.
generational families back.
Wait. Okay, wait. So what's the difference then? You just said a nuclear family is husband and wife and children, right?
Yes.
And dog.
Multi-generational families are grandparents, aunts,
Oh,
uncles,
okay.
cousins.
So when you were saying nuclear family, it's specifically talking about the cutting off of grandparents and things like that. Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, so I would agree then. That is but
It is a nuclear disaster.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Thanks for clearing that up for me. Sorry, I'm so dumb.
Okay, I think
All
I'm
right,
gonna.
guys, I'm gonna go.
It was
Yep,
nice
I'm
meeting you.
out of here. Good night.